Good Saturday evening, everybody. Welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's live stream, we're going to be live streaming severe weather. Another outbreak of severe weather is expected on Sunday. This is tomorrow on Sunday, March 26th, 2023. If you guys are just joining me, don't forget to press the thumbs up button down below, the like button. It definitely helps out to get this stream out to more and more people. You can also repost the stream on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything like that to get the word out to people here. And before I get going here this evening, let's take a moment of silence for everybody who has lost their lives, all 26 or 25 people that have lost their lives in Mississippi and Alabama here from last night. All right, just give me 1 second. Let's take a moment of silence here. Again, thanks everybody for joining the live stream. Much appreciated. Again, my heart goes out to everybody there in western and central Mississippi, especially in the Rolling Fork region. Definitely a catastrophic damage from yesterday. And hopefully we don't see anything like that going into the day tomorrow, okay? So I definitely feel for all of you guys there in Rolling Fork and the Silver City area, Winona, all those areas that had those violent long track tornadoes yesterday. It was definitely a sight that we did not want to see. So hopefully we don't see any of that moving forward through the spring time frame. We never want to see tornadoes. We never want to see those violent tornadoes. So hopefully we stay away from all those dangerous severe storms like we saw last night. But we do have a severe weather risk going into tomorrow. So we do want to get the word out because we saw what happened yesterday and we want to prevent that again in the future. Okay, so we take what happened in the past and we use that for the future, okay, to get stronger at messaging for severe weather and alerting people and becoming weather aware moving forward with these events. So you do see a color on here, several colors. You see the lighter green, that is a level 0 of 5. That is just the general thunderstorm risk here. The Storm Prediction Center's update from yesterday or this morning. You do see that here. That's a level 0. You also have that up there into the lower Missouri Valley as well. A couple of thunderstorms possible into northeast Oklahoma, southeast Kansas, southwestern Missouri, and northwest Arkansas, and then again up there toward the Tennessee Valley, and then back into East Texas. So like Tyler, Texas, Shreveport, down in toward Houston, Beaumont, you guys are expected to mainly see some just general thunderstorms going through the day on Sunday. Then as we zoom in here, so we know that the lighter green is just general thunderstorms. Now we zoom in and see 3 different colors here, and that is the severity of the storm. So we have a 1 out of 5 here across the green shaded color. This does encompass the Atlanta metro area up there toward Athens, Georgia there. That's in northern Georgia. And then back to the west. So if you live in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, you guys are in that marginal risk, a level 1 of 5 for severe weather. That extends all the way back into East Texas here, just north of Houston and the Beaumont region. So if you live in those areas, we have at least a marginal threat, a lower end threat for severe weather going into the day on Sunday. Then a yellow shade of color. This extends eastward here into southern North Carolina, central and southern portions of South Carolina, getting in towards central and southern Georgia, much of southern portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and central Louisiana as well. That is a level 2 of 5 here. That is a little bit higher of a chance for severe weather. So you up here into Florence, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, down in towards Savannah, Georgia there, we have that level 2 of 5 for severe weather going into the day on Sunday. That is tomorrow on March 26th. So we definitely have the threat for severe weather there. That extends back westward again into portions of central Louisiana. Then we have a level 3 of 5 in the orange shaded color here. That is the middle of the road. Again, we had a moderate risk, a level 4 of 5 yesterday. So this is getting pretty close to that again tomorrow. We're expecting another outbreak. And this is across portions of southwestern Alabama, southern Mississippi, and getting into eastern portions of Louisiana. So the Montgomery region, back toward Hattiesburg, Jackson, Mississippi, and then getting down there just to the north of Baton Rouge. We definitely expect some bumpy weather going through the day on Sunday. So we're going to look now individually at some of the hazards for the severe weather tomorrow now. But if you guys have any questions for me throughout the live stream after I go through these hazards, I'll be looking through the comment section to see if you guys have any questions. And then we'll be going forward. We'll talk about the timing of the storms, and then we'll talk about the setup of severe weather, why we're seeing it, and move forward toward that. And then at the end of the live stream, we're going to be going over the long-range weather pattern that we expect to see unfold, at least in the first week or so of April. So let's look first at the hazards for tomorrow. Let's look at the damaging wind risk. We still have some damaging winds likely, or at least possible tomorrow. So if you were anywhere in the brown or yellow shaded color here, that's where we can expect some damaging winds up to at least 60 miles per hour. So this covers much of eastern portions of North Carolina, southern North Carolina, much of the state of South Carolina here, again, much of Georgia, getting into central southern Alabama, central and southern Mississippi, back into central Louisiana, and then a small part of far east Texas. Those are the areas expected to see maybe some 50, 60, maybe some 65 mile per hour wind gusts here, especially in the yellow shaded color. So we're talking about you just south of Atlanta there. We have a chance for some 60 mile per hour winds. So like Macon, Georgia, the Columbus region, getting over here into Augusta, Florence, South Carolina, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, right along the coastline there, Savannah, Georgia. Some of those areas could be impacted by some of the damaging winds. Farther west, so now we're talking about south central portions of Alabama, so Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and then up toward the Gadsden region, and unfortunately the same areas that actually got hard hit yesterday, the Rolling Fork region, Silver City, Winona, Mississippi. You are again under the threat for more damaging winds going through the day on Sunday, so we'll be watching out for that there. Right now only a 5% shading for that. The higher chance of damaging winds farther south here toward Montgomery, Then getting in toward Hattiesburg, Jackson, Mississippi, the Vicksburg, Natchez region, and then back in towards central Louisiana. So we're talking about you here into Alexandria, and then farther west toward the Louisiana and East Texas state line. So those are the areas impacted by the potential for damaging winds tomorrow. And again, we don't want to leave out North Carolina. So if you live into the Outer Banks here, so from the New Bern region down through Jacksonville, Wilmington, especially down into the Wilmington region here, I-40, you guys could be seeing some 60-mile-per-hour winds throughout the day on Sunday there as well. So mainly eastern and southern portions of North Carolina will be impacted by the damaging wind potential. Now we move over to the hail potential here. This is what is pretty concerning. The Storm Prediction Center has upgraded to an enhanced risk mainly for hail, and this is going to be pretty significant threat tomorrow. The Storm Prediction Center has upgraded to a 30% hatched risk for hail. What that means is where you see those dashed lines, that's where we could expect some 2-inch or larger type of hailstones. So we're talking about golf ball to even hen egg size hail, or even larger. We could be seeing some, tennis ball, baseball size hail, stuff like that going through the day on Sunday. This covers much of southern and central portions of Alabama, southern Mississippi, getting into central Louisiana here. So areas that could see some real big hail tomorrow, the 2-inch or larger in diameter hailstones. Montgomery, back into the Auburn region, Enterprise, that's in southern Alabama. Farther west into Mississippi, we're talking about you there in towards the Meridian region, Hattiesburg, Jackson, Vicksburg, and down in toward the Natchez region, and then westward in towards portions of central Louisiana. So the Alexandria region here, and then getting across portions of I-49. So if you live in those areas, definitely be on high alert through the day tomorrow. Again, from morning even into the afternoon and evening. So it's the entirety of the day, and it looks like there'll probably be several rounds of severe weather going through the day on Sunday. Farther east, so we're talking about Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. These areas, probably just a normal hail risk, 5 to 15% shading in the brown and yellow shaded colors. So Atlanta, Athens, Macon, Columbus, Augusta, Savannah, Georgia, all those areas likely to see some hail tomorrow. Even into South Carolina, so Columbia to the Florence region, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, and then down farther south from there. And then into North Carolina, the Wilmington, Jacksonville, Fayetteville, and Greenville regions here, and also up toward New Bern, North Carolina, and the Outer Banks. We definitely could be seeing the threat for some larger hail, maybe around quarter to $half size there, into those brown and yellow shaded colors. Then we finally look at the tornado risk. Yes, we have a chance of tornadoes tomorrow. We have the chance again for more tornadoes, and the threat is there. I mean, it's a heightened threat a little bit. We have an elongated area here from far east Texas through Louisiana there, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, south central Georgia, into southern South Carolina there, of a 5% shading of tornadoes. That's a 5% chance of tornadoes within about a 25 to 50 mile radius. So that is something to watch. So if you live anywhere in these areas here, in the brown shaded color, I want you guys to be on high alert throughout the day on Sunday. So if you live in these brown shaded colors here, that is the chance for a few isolated tornadoes. And again, I don't think there's a threat for strong, violent tornadoes like we saw yesterday, but again, there is a tornado risk. So we still have to watch this going through the day on Sunday. So those are the hazards going through the day tomorrow. Again, I'll put the categorical outlook up for you guys to see here. Again, the brighter the color, or the higher the number, I'll put the numbers on here. The higher the chance for severe weather. It only goes to a 5, okay? So we got a 0 up here across portions of the Tennessee Valley, a 0 back here as well toward the Arklatex regions, and then as we go farther towards the south, we got that 1 out of 5 here, we got the 2 out of 5 in this area, and then of course the 3 out of 5. So I'll leave that up for a second. Again, the higher the number, the higher the chance of severe weather, is essentially what is the key for tomorrow. So we'll continue to watch that. Again, we went over all the hazards. That's what you can expect. The main hazard tomorrow will be large hail and possibly damaging hail. So we could see those golf ball, hen egg size hailstones, tennis ball, and who knows, maybe even some baseball size hailstones. Definitely a possibility, especially across eastern and central portions of Louisiana, south central Mississippi, and then into southern Alabama there. That's the area to watch. So from about Montgomery back through Hattiesburg, Jackson, Natchez, and then getting back toward the Alexandria, Louisiana region, those are the areas to watch for some damaging hail through the day tomorrow. But all across the Gulf Coast states, even into the Carolinas, we have to be watching out for some damaging winds and tornadoes as well, all across these areas. So just if you're outside the damaging hail risk, you still could get some damaging hail. I mean, quarter to $half size hail can still do damages, put to your car, windshields, siding, trees, all that stuff. Hail is still damaging at quarter to $half size, and that is why they put severe thunderstorm warnings on that as well. So does anybody have any questions for me here real quick before we go over the setup and why we see the severe weather, and then we'll go over the timing of the storms after that. So if anybody has any comments, questions, concerns, put them down in the live stream chat. I am here for you guys, and again, our hearts go out to everybody affected by those violent tornadoes yesterday and last night in towards Mississippi. Again, the Rolling Fork region, Silver City, and then the Winona area as well. So definitely unfortunately a devastating night last night for a lot of those communities. Thank you for joining, Kathleen and Layla. Thanks for joining. Good Saturday evening to you. Proud Southern girl, hello from Alabama. Hopefully you stayed safe yesterday. I know Alabama did have some dangerous storms as well, so thank you for joining. Tim Key, hello everyone. Please pause a moment for all those affected by the tornadoes last night. Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, a devastating tornado and a few tornadoes that were long-lived last night. So definitely our hearts go out to them. Stephen Hibbs, hello, Weather on the Go. I would like to say thank you and God bless and all the other weather reporters, storm chasers for the amazing job during last night's extreme tornado outbreak. You're very welcome. Again, that's why we go live on here. We want to warn you. We want to put the word out. And again, you guys can help out as well by pressing the like button, by subscribing to the channel to get this word out. And, if you guys have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any social media platform you want to share this stream on, I'm definitely A-okay with that. So, because the more we get this stream out to people and more, weather aware people are, that's some good news because we want people to know about this threat coming up even on Sunday. Okay, we have I'll admit right now, the tornado risk is not as high as it was yesterday, but it still is there. So we still want people to be weather aware on Sunday. And again, it's the weekend and people will be sleeping in and stuff like that. We could even have severe weather during the morning hours. Linda, thanks for joining. Please pray for all that was affected in the severe weather last night. Yeah, absolutely. Pray for them, and hopefully we quick recovery for them moving forward. Christy Manning, thanks for joining. Hello from Kentucky. Well, thank you for joining from Kentucky. Hopefully you were staying safe from the flash flooding the other day. Definitely was a lot of flash flooding happening up into the Kentucky area and the Ohio River Valley. A lot of river flooding up there. That's something we could talk about a little bit as well if you'd like. Rain Maves, hello. Thanks for joining. Yeah, absolutely, Linda. Don't forget to press that thumbs up button, guys. Hello from windy Dayton, Ohio. Yeah, very windy. And this is the windiest time of year, guys. So if you guys would imagine, we're going into spring now, and we've already had our spring equinox. April and May are usually the two windiest months of the season across much of the United States. So that is, again, it's going to be windy. We're going to have these big weather changes, weather patterns coming in, and lots of wind moving forward. All right, well, I'll try to keep up with the chat as I can. Again, I left the numbers on the screen, so the higher the number, the higher chance of severe weather going through the day on Sunday. So let's talk about the setup now. Let's talk about the setup for severe weather, and actually, let's move forward to the north because we do have a severe weather risk too up here, a much lower chance, but still a severe weather risk for mainly some, let's see what the hazard is up here. I would believe it's hail or wind. I don't think it's tornadoes. We got a 5% shading for wind up here into eastern Illinois, getting into north central Indiana here. Some of these areas, again, we could be talking about some 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. That will be across Champaign-Urbana, Kankakee, and toward the southern suburbs of Chicago, Fort Wayne, South Bend, Gary, Indiana, down in toward the Indianapolis region. Those are the areas that we could be seeing the threat for some damaging winds going through the day tomorrow. Again, this is a real low threat, so not too worried about it. And then, again, the hail threat as well. We're not looking at anything hail-wise. Tornado risk tomorrow. Nothing. So just a damaging wind risk up here across portions of the western Ohio Valley and the lower Great Lakes. All right, so that's currently what we're seeing happening tomorrow up there. And you do see there's actually winter weather alerts. We're going to be seeing more snow, more icing across central Iowa toward the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, Des Moines region, Omaha, Lincoln, all these areas and back to the west. We'll be seeing a couple more inches of snow and some sleet, freezing rain mixing in through the day on Sunday. So I have a little kind of a nuisance type of system moving across those areas. So get ready for more wintry weather if you live in those areas. Other than that, we're going to be talking about the severe weather on this stream here. So let's go to the latest models here real quick, and let's go to the HRRR and go back to the 18Z HRRR. And let's talk about the setup for tomorrow. So right now, here's what we have going on right now, and I'll put it on the screen here for you guys to see. I don't want to go too far out here. All right, so it's almost 8 o'clock here, and in about 8 minutes. So this is the positioning of our jet stream right now. This is the 500 millibar winds. This is the jet stream in the mid levels of the atmosphere, so several thousand feet above our heads here. And what this is I'm going to kind of draw what the pattern looks like right now with the jet stream overall. All right. So you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. We got more of a Pacific flow, so we got kind of zonal flow kind of setting up. Not much of a ridge or a trough here. There's much more cooler air moving south, but the trough is kind of flattening out. We don't have the big amplified trough like we saw yesterday with the severe weather. That has pushed off across the east. So basically what I'm saying is what you see is what you get. So you have the cooler air to the north of this jet stream with a little bit of the flattening of that trough. That's why we see some of the snowfall like we did across Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, those areas to the north. We see the snowfall headlines up there. That's going to stay that way through at least the next couple of days because the cooler air will be north of that jet stream. So right along and south of the jet stream here, as you can imagine, again, what you see is what you get to the south. We have a little bit of ridging, but it's flattened out. So these areas down here across the south, we are seeing some warmer temperatures. So those spring-like temperatures will persist, will prevail through the day on Sunday going into tomorrow. And that's kind of one of the ingredients of why we'll see some of the severe weather like we do. But let's push forward. Let's push to tomorrow here. This is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. And you can see much of the same is going on. What you see is what you get out there. So we're going to see more of the flattening out of the jet stream. We don't have much of a buckle in the jet stream at all. To the north, all the way across these areas, it's going to be cooler. Make no mistake about it. It's going to be chillier, 30s, 40s for highs. If you go even farther up toward the north into like the Dakotas, Minnesota, temperatures will be back into the 20s here because we still have that snowpack. We've seen a lot of snow this year across the Twin Cities region, back into the eastern Dakotas. That will continue to persist through this weekend. So make no mistake about it, it will be cooler up there. Winter will be still moving through those areas. But down here to the south, you see a little bit of an enhancement to some of the winds down here. You see some of the purples moving through, some of the pinks. Those are the enhanced winds in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and they're screaming out of the west. So we call those westerlies in the jet stream. That is tomorrow morning. But let's go into tomorrow afternoon now. This is 3 o'clock, and you notice how the colors start to brighten up a little more. So this jet stream is going to strengthen through the day on Sunday, and you can see still not too amplified. We still have a flatter kind of trough to the north with the cooler air like I was just talking about. But farther south, we have some strong westerlies, or what we call west-southwesterlies in the jet stream, just a fancy term to where the winds are moving, and that's what we see. So we have one ingredient there. We have some stronger winds a few thousand feet up in the atmosphere. Now we look at something called the low-level jet, and this is in the 700 millibar layer, and it's not too strong. The strongest low-level jet is actually a little bit displaced off to the north and east. That's across the mid-Atlantic up here in the northeast, like the I-95 corridor. But across the south, we still have some energy in the low levels. This is 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, so there's still some support for tornadoes, and that is why the Storm Prediction Center has a 2 and 5% shading for tornadoes all across the Gulf Coast states from East Texas through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and even parts of North Carolina. That is the reason why we see it, because we still have some winds in the low levels that could be concerning for some tornado development, but certainly not like what we saw yesterday. Okay, so that's the good news. Moving into Sunday evening now, this is about 7 o'clock or so. And you see, usually during the evening hours, the low-level jet starts to strengthen. There's a little bit of some enhancement in here that we do have to watch with that low-level jet across like Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and maybe West Georgia going into Sunday evening. We'll definitely have to watch that. And anytime you're talking about a frontal boundary, we're going to be seeing that. So we have like a stationary boundary kind of setting up something like that across portions of the South. And whenever you have a boundary setting up, you have to watch that for turning of the winds with height. So right near that boundary, if we have a storm set up tomorrow, they could start to rotate because we have the winds from the north coming in to the north of the boundary, but to the south, we have all this rich Gulf of Mexico moisture advecting to the north right along that boundary, and we have a little bit of a rolling motion going on at times. Not violently so, but still enough to produce some tornadoes tomorrow evening. We'll watch out for that. And then, of course, this is what I was talking about. So remember how I said the low-level jet will start to strengthen overnight? That's naturally what occurs. Usually the low-level jet is stronger overnight. Do you see these purples, even some red showing up in here? That's an enhancement to some of the tornado potential as we go in towards the Sunday evening time frame. So if we have some storms pushing through here, through Mississippi, Alabama, into Georgia, they could be tornadic. So there could be supercells mixed in there as well with the low-level jet strengthening overnight as we go in towards Sunday. Now, another aspect of this is what we call dew points, and this measures the moisture in the atmosphere. This is at about, let's go back to the afternoon hours here. This is about 3 o'clock. You see we have a boundary setting up, and I'll kind of zoom in to show you because it's hard to see zoomed out. To the north of the boundary, we see dry air. So it's all the air is dry. We have cooler, more stable air. Here's the boundary setting up. This is about like how it will be going in towards the afternoon hours, mid-afternoon on Sunday. To the north of here, all the way up across these areas, we're going to have stable, cooler conditions. Dew points will be down into the 30s and 40s. We're not talking about anything crazy up there into Tennessee, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, North Georgia for the most part, Arkansas. You guys will all be fine. Northern Louisiana, all you guys will be fine to the north. But to the south of the boundary, you see all these warmer, these darker colors. That is the dew points rising, advecting out of the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico is right there. So we don't have that far to go with this moisture. So we already have the 60s, 70-degree dew points kind of pooling up right along that front, and that'll also enhance the heavy rainfall threat as well. So there's going to be a heavy rainfall threat with this, as well as some severe weather with damaging winds, large hail, and a couple of tornadoes. We definitely have to watch that. So, but yeah, we're going to be seeing those 60s, mid 60, upper 60-degree dew points. So it's going to feel humid, feel muggy as you go outside tomorrow. So it's what we call air you can wear, and especially as you go farther south. So like South Georgia down toward Northwest Florida Panhandle. So if you live in like Tallahassee, the Pensacola, Panama City area, New Orleans, over here toward Lake Charles, Houston, you guys are going to feel that much more so tomorrow afternoon at about 3 o'clock. Dew points will be in the low 70s down there. Then let's fast forward to the evening hours. You see how the front doesn't move too much farther to the north. It's kind of staying where it is. Well, that's why it's a stationary front, because it's not really moving anywhere. It's stationary. So it may budge just a little bit farther north and kind of advect some of the 70-degree dew points up into like the Montgomery area, Jackson, and that's why we have the threat for enhanced severe weather going through the day on Sunday, because those dew points will actually contribute to what we call CAPE. So let's look at CAPE real quick. This is also known as convective available potential energy here. And you see, going through the evening hours tomorrow, look at all these bright colors showing up on the screen. The greens, the yellows, oranges showing up. That is CAPE, or what I call thunderstorm food. Whenever you see these colors, that means thunderstorms are likely here, especially if we have what we call a shortwave or storm system moving through the environment. That is what we're seeing going in towards the afternoon and evening on Sunday. So anywhere you see the brighter the colors, the more CAPE or convective available potential energy there is. So as we kind of zoom in here, you can see southern portions of Mississippi, we're at about 2,600 joules per kilogram. Back into portions of central Louisiana up around 3,000. So yeah, we're going to generally have about 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram of instability. So that's what we call moderate to strong CAPE. or convective available potential energy. And anything really over 500 joules per kilogram is fair game for thunderstorms. But anything over 1,000 joules per kilogram, that's when you start to see more of the threat for severe weather come into play. And we're seeing upwards of 3,000 joules per kilogram going in towards later on tomorrow afternoon and early Sunday evening. So that's what we're seeing. That's all across the Gulf Coast. This is from Houston all the way across Louisiana, southern Mississippi, south central Alabama, south central Georgia, and then even on up in there into South Carolina. Now, looking over here in North Carolina, you see the Cape is a little bit weaker up across this region in here. So if you see up in here, this area, we don't have as much of the bright colors, say like the Wilmington area, Florence. You see those lime greens here getting into South Carolina. The Cape is not as strong, so we'll kind of have to wait for that to build up overnight tomorrow night as it moves from west to east across the Carolinas, and that's what we're seeing there. So that's why the enhanced risk is where it is, because the energy levels across these areas that I'm about to circle here, across these areas are much higher than it is over into, say, the Carolinas. And that is why we see that slight and even enhanced risk for severe weather going through the day on Sunday. All right. And then we're going to kind of look at a couple more things. We're going to kind of dive into it just a little bit more. We're going to look at something we call, if I can find it here, there we go. Supercell composite. So it kind of puts all the parameters together of what we just talked about. The mid-level jet here at the 500 millibar layer, the 700 millibar layer low-level jet, and also the Cape values or dew points that kind of contribute to that convective available potential energy. It puts all those values and all that into an algorithm, and that's known as the supercell composite. And so whenever you see the brighter colors show up with the greens on here across, like, say, portions of southern Mississippi into Louisiana and even into southwestern Alabama, that's where supercell thunderstorms will come into play going in towards tomorrow evening here. This is about 7 o'clock. And then this is going into 9 o'clock, and you see, how much of this is across portions of the, the immediate Gulf Coast here. We don't truly have supercell potential up here into the Eastern Carolinas region, but we still could have a couple pop that could be supercells right there toward the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina area, Charleston, South Carolina. But those will be probably more linear, so I'm more concerned about the tornado threat farther west than I am up into the Carolinas. Not to say there's not going to be any tornadoes up there, but there's still just not, the supercell composite values are not as high across North and South Carolina, I guess is what I'm saying. So the higher the supercell composite, the more the chance of supercells. And of course, we all know supercell thunderstorms are the ones that produce the tornadoes and violent tornadoes sometimes. And that is exactly what we saw, unfortunately, last night across parts of Mississippi. So we're going to watch that going forward. Now we're going to look at something else. One more thing. It's called the significant tornado parameter, or STP for short. And we see that. We see some values here, but we're definitely not seeing anything as crazy as what we were seeing last night. That is for sure. So that's some great news. You kind of see more of the grays and stuff here. Last night we're seeing the yellows, reds, and all that stuff. So we're not seeing that, but there still is a threat for some tornadoes in this zone here. So we have that 5% shading, and even outside of that, a 2% chance or tornadoes within about a 50-mile radius of your location in conjunction to those probabilities. So anybody could go onto the Storm Prediction Center page and find the probabilities. You just type in SPC. You can type in Storm Prediction Center on Google, SPC, it'll come up. SPC is short for Storm Prediction Center. You guys can find their page, and they have outlook probabilities from day 1 all the way to day 8 on there. Some other tools on there that you can see what the severe categories mean, from general thunderstorms all the way up to high risk days and stuff like that. Lots of cool tools on their page. You guys can go check that out. But now let's go through the timing now of the storms. So we talked about the setup to the severe weather. Now let's look at the timing of the storms as well, because this is important. So let's go all the way to about 6 a.m. here on Sunday morning. So as we're getting into Sunday morning at 6 a.m., getting ready for church, if you guys have any errands to run across these areas, we're going to start to see more storms ongoing during the period here, during the morning hours across central portions of Alabama here and towards eastern Mississippi. These could be strong, okay? So these storms could be strong. We could be seeing those large hailstones already, those quarter, half dollar size hailstones, maybe some gusty winds. A couple of these storms could be producing winds strong enough to be severe, so maybe those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts that we see, that'll be across portions of like Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, farther south toward Montgomery, and then back toward the Meridian area there in toward Mississippi. This is at 6 a.m. now on Sunday, but there's not much going on in Georgia, so it's pretty quiet here Sunday morning, 6 a.m. in Atlanta, pretty quiet in the Athens area, Macon, Georgia, and then over into the Carolinas for the most part. Maybe a storm or two to pop in those areas, but other than that, fairly quiet. Now we go to mid-morning. This is about 9 in the morning. We have what we call an MCS, or a mesoscale convective system, already continuing to mature a little bit across portions of Georgia. So it was quiet about 6, 7 in the morning here in Atlanta, but now we're going to start to see this whole squall line of storms push through, or what we call an MCS, a mesoscale convective system, and this is going to sweep through much of north central Georgia. These could be producing some strong gusty winds, maybe some severe warnings with damaging winds and large hail on the leading edge there. That'll be pushing through the Atlanta region, Athens, down through the Augusta region, Macon, Georgia there. That's at 9 o'clock in the morning. We will have some back building of the storms. So there's going to be storms building back again into southern portions of Alabama, southeastern Mississippi, likely southeast of Jackson and the Birmingham, Tuscaloosa areas. That is going into the 9 a.m. time frame. Some of those storms could be producing some large hail. And some of these, even the farthest south ones, you can see this model's trying to show a couple supercells developing. We might even have to watch out for some tornadoes tomorrow morning. So it might not just be an afternoon, evening threat. We might have to watch out for some rotating supercells into southern Alabama, southern Mississippi on Sunday morning. So already like 8, 9, 10 o'clock, we'll have to be watching out for that across these areas. That is the concern. Going into the noon time frame now. So we're going into about noon, 1 o'clock or so. All these storms will be pushing into the Carolinas. We will see that MCS, or mesoscale convective system, push across portions of South Carolina again, bringing heavy rain. Again, these always bring the heavy rainfall threat, especially when we were talking about the higher dew points earlier. That's going to be wringing all this moisture out like a sponge. But yeah, if you live in Florence, up there toward Fayetteville, maybe even down toward Columbia, South Carolina, Augusta, Macon, Georgia, we're going to be talking about some heavier storms, heavy rain, frequent lightning, maybe some strong gusty winds, some large hail. If we have a discrete cell ahead of the main MCS, or a mesoscale convective system, then certainly we could have a rotating supercell that could produce a tornado. We'll continue to watch that, but probably more of a heavy rain and damaging wind threat than anything else across the Carolinas there into East Georgia by the noon time frame. But you see, back to the west, we don't truly get rid of the storms. So we're still storming back here across south central portions of Alabama, Mississippi, and even parts of eastern Louisiana there. So from about Columbus back through Montgomery, Hattiesburg to Jackson, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and then all the way back to Alexandria, Louisiana, we don't truly get rid of the storms. So we're still going to be seeing the storms firing off here on all cylinders through about the noon time frame. And these ones could also be producing some large hail that could be, again, golf ball size or larger, maybe some spin up tornadoes here. But there will be a little bit of a lull in the action here. So as we get in toward early afternoon, it tries to clear out a little bit in some areas. Again, we're still going to see some storms, so it doesn't truly clear out. But when we see some of the clearing out between the storms, we could have the sun poke through a little bit, some filtered sunshine in spots. That will only worsen the environment a little bit and ripen it more for our second round of storms. So we're going to see multiple rounds of storms on Sunday across these areas, and then getting into about 5 o'clock here. So now we're starting to get in toward the second round of storms. This is late afternoon, early evening on Sunday. You see these individual cells popping up here across portions of southeastern Alabama, south central Georgia, into southern South Carolina regions down here. So like Augusta to Macon, down to Columbus, Montgomery, even the Dothan regions, Tallahassee, Savannah, Georgia, all these areas, we're going to have to watch out for some rotating supercells, some damaging winds, and some large hail. But the storms I'm most concerned about are the ones back here. You notice how we really didn't talk much about East Texas, Louisiana, or Mississippi too much for the morning on Sunday. That means that, yes, there could be some storms throughout the day on Sunday, but we really didn't squelch the atmosphere of energy across this region during the Sunday morning time frame. All the storms that developed back in here, and they propagated farther east in toward the Carolinas. We truly didn't really see too much coverage of storms back here in towards southern Mississippi, central Louisiana, and to far east Texas, as we did farther east toward the Atlanta metro area that I showed you for the Sunday morning time frame toward midday. And there's a reason why, is because we have a little bit of a capping inversion back to the west, but that will break as we get towards the late afternoon and early evening time frame. And then right along that stationary boundary, we got the stationary boundary setting up right along in this area here, and any storm that can interact with that boundary. So from Jackson, Mississippi, Alexandria, Louisiana, Hattiesburg, Montgomery, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Atlanta, any storm that could develop right along that stationary front will have the chance to rotate with some supercells producing some tornadoes out there. Anything south of there still could have tornadoes, but more of a damaging wind and large hail risk. That goes for the storms that are just south of the boundary. That is into the 7 o'clock time frame. Now, as we get in toward mid to late evening, so we're talking about 10 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock here. We're going to start to see kind of a messy storm mode, a lot of supercells developing, very large hail here. This is late in the evening. These could be the storms to produce some golf ball to baseball size hail at the largest. I mean, we could be seeing some tennis ball size hail mixed in. That's why we have that 30% hatched risk for large hail and damaging hail across these areas going into that Sunday evening time frame. And then going in toward the midnight time frame now, this is midnight. This storm will start to kind of push across Alabama, so we'll exit the storms out of Louisiana, Mississippi here, maybe a rogue storm or two back toward Jackson through midnight, but this will be pushing more into the Montgomery region, western portions of Georgia, and the eastern Mississippi there. So really the heart of the Montgomery area will get into our second round of severe weather by the midnight time frame, and then after midnight going into 2 a.m., this will push across Georgia, so this will turn more to a heavy rain, damaging wind threat. I think the tornado threat by this time will start to wane considerably, but we still have to watch out for some, squall lines of storms to produce damaging winds on the leading edge. Of course, the heavy rainfall with all the moisture will be wringing it out like a sponge or a wash rag down here pretty much. So that's what we're seeing. That's the timing for the storm. So basically what I'm saying here is if you live in these areas here, across portions of the areas that I'm just circling, watch out for some strong storms here tomorrow morning here. The timing for this, I'd say between about 5 a.m. and probably about the noon time frame. Okay, so 5 a.m. to about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Watch out for some stronger storms up in this region in here. So from the Outer Banks of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and to portions of East Central Alabama there, we have to watch out for some stronger storms, damaging winds, large hail, a couple rotating storms, even during those morning time frames. Then we'll have a little bit of those storms continuing. Again, we could have a little lull in the action, but we don't truly get rid of them. So we still have the storms down in this region here right along the front throughout the day. That will continue. And then the second round of storms will form back to the west here where we don't really squelch the energy too much. And these storms in this area could become more problematic. They could be more significant than the first round. And this would probably be from about the noon time frame until probably about midnight. Okay, so this is about a 12-hour period we have to watch for those storms across those areas. So like Jackson, Mississippi, Hattiesburg, Natchez, Vicksburg, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, getting in towards the, again, some of the areas that got hit hard last night. Rolling Fork, Silver City, Winona. Yeah, you're in the threat again with the second round as we head into the overnight hours there at evening. And then back across Alexandria, Louisiana, and far east Texas. So a lot of areas at risk. Again, make no mistake about it. A lot of the areas are at risk across much of the Gulf Coast here from East Texas through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia there, and into the Carolinas, South Carolina, and even eastern and southern North Carolina as well. So I'll go back here. Let's go back to looking at the let's go back real quick to looking at the outlook. So again, here's the outlook for severe weather. If you guys are just joining me here, we have an enhanced risk upgrade from this afternoon across portions of Alabama into Mississippi here, down toward the Jackson, Hattiesburg region, Natchez to Vicksburg, and then back in toward the Alexandria, Louisiana region, and into Alabama toward the Montgomery area. That's an enhanced risk. That's a level 3 of 5 for severe weather on Sunday. And again, we could be talking about damaging hail in this area there. We got a 3 there. We got a 2 of 5 risk, a little bit lower in the yellow. We got a 1 out of 5 in the dark green, and then a 0 up here to the north toward the Tennessee Valley, where just general garden variety thunderstorms will be. And then, of course, we got a little bit of an area of storms up there toward like Joplin, Missouri, Springfield, Jefferson City, back toward Tulsa, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, those areas into northwest Arkansas. Those will just be general thunderstorms throughout the day on Sunday up there. So that's the area at risk. Anywhere you see the dark green, the yellow, or the orange, you want to be at high alert for severe weather. Whether you're not, you're in a marginal risk or not, even if it's a low end threat, 1 out of 5, you still want to pay close attention to the weather. We still could be seeing some bad weather going through that time frame. But if you guys are with me on the live stream, be sure to press the thumbs up button down below. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. As you guys well know, I do go live here during these events, so I'll continue to go live this season for severe weather. So we probably will be live tomorrow afternoon and evening. I'll be covering the severe weather right here, Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. We'll be having live coverage here. We'll be checking into some storm chasers out there with their live feeds, showing you real-time severe weather on the roads. We'll be doing live radar analysis, the whole 9 yards on this channel. So make sure you do that. Like the live stream down below by pressing the thumbs up button. Also, slap that subscribe button, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you get notified for this live stream. And I do daily weather forecast videos. So if you guys enjoy long, detailed weather forecasts for about 15, 20 minutes every morning at 9 a.m., this is the place for you. We really break things down on this page. So I definitely appreciate everybody joining this evening. Let's see who's in chat here. Angel, Texas in house. Thanks for joining. Much appreciated. I live in Manistee, Michigan, Linda says. Oh, there you go. Yeah, you had some snow up there, right? Up there, Linda? A lot of snow up into the Manistee region earlier on. Yeah, I did want to note that. I wonder if I could see. We still have winter storm warnings up there toward like the Traverse City region as well. We did also have a marginal risk of severe weather up here into like eastern Illinois, south of the Chicagoland area. So we're talking about like Kankakee, down and toward the Champaign-Urbana, Danville, Illinois regions, and then into north central portions of Indiana. So like Fort Wayne to South Bend, Gary, Indiana, Lafayette, the Kokomo region, and then just north of Indianapolis there. That's a level 1 of 5 here. Not that big of a deal, mainly just a damaging wind threat. Than anything else with that setup. So here's the wind threat for Sunday. It's just a 5% chance of wind, maybe some brief wind gusts to 60 miles per hour up here. Not too big of a deal. But we're certainly still seeing the threat for some stronger storms up here as well as we go through the day on Sunday. So let's look at this. Let's go back to the HRRR. Let's time these out here to what we could see with this setup up here. See what's happening. Going into the day on Sunday. Let me get rid of the severe weather probabilities real quick. Again, if you're just joining, we're doing live coverage of the severe weather outbreak tomorrow. We're talking about the setup, the timing, all that stuff with the storms. You guys could always rewatch this live stream later on too if you missed some parts. No big deal. I'll have that on my page later. Let's see. Let's go back to the 18Z. I know the newer guidance is coming out now, but it's not fully loaded yet. All right, so this is 8 a.m. on Sunday. We currently have some showers, some storms back here to the west. These will probably be mainly some sleet, sleet and snow back here. So that's why we have those winter weather advisories in towards Des Moines, Cedar Rapids. This will probably be sleet, snow, maybe some freezing drizzle mixed in back across these areas. That'll continue to push off to the east here with time throughout the day there on Sunday. And then as we go through the day there on Sunday, let's go to about the noon time frame. We're going to start to see more showers, maybe a couple of rumbles of thunder down here. So northern Illinois from Rockford to Chicago, I-80, I-88, Highway 20 up there. Probably see some rumbles of thunder, some downpours moving through. Other than that, we're not seeing anything severe there. Maybe some rogue storms there into southern Lake Michigan over there toward like the South Bend, Gary area. We may have to watch for some brief wind gusts over 50, maybe approaching 60 miles per hour by noon time frame. We'll see if we get any warnings out of this batch of storms that develops here. But as this pushes east, you see how it makes more of a linear mode of storms here from like northeast Illinois down into east central Illinois. Well, the southernmost extent here, the southern side of this line could be the most intense side of the line, so to speak, that could produce maybe some 60 mile per hour wind gusts, maybe some nickel size hail or something like that, some pocket change hail. We're not really talking about that much hail up here. Because if I turn this over here, this is 2 o'clock in the afternoon to what we call CAPE, what we're looking at earlier. This is the convective available potential energy, and we have some. You see the lighter greens in here, but it's not very plentiful. We don't have a lot of energy, so we're not really truly going to see those big hailstones like we're going to see tomorrow, probably down in towards the Gulf Coast states. So that is why, and also the lapse rates are going to be much lower down in this area. And what I mean by lapse rates is that at the surface, temperatures will be warm enough to support strong storms, but as you go up naturally in the atmosphere cools off, but it doesn't cool off that much on tomorrow's setup across eastern Illinois or north central Indiana. And that's what we call lapse rates. The steeper the lapse rates are, or the colder the temperatures are displaced from what the temperatures are at the surface, the colder they are, the temperature inversion, the more extreme the instability or CAPE is. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you guys out there. But if you have any questions on that in the chat, I definitely could answer those. So that's what we call lapse rates. There's low-level lapse rates and there's mid-level lapse rates. Okay, so that is what we look at. There's a lot of parameters. So you have to have a lot of parameters come together for severe weather to have the right event. And unfortunately, like yesterday, a lot of those parameters did come together in a few spots. So hopefully we don't see anything like that like we saw yesterday there anytime soon. And again, the other thing that up here as well is we're going to be lacking moisture. So the reason why the instability isn't as strong as it is anyway, besides the lapse rates being weaker, we don't have a lot of moisture. So we're limited on the moisture front as well. You see these kind of dull greens showing up. The dew points aren't going to be that impressive. We're going to only see those upper 40s, low 50 dew points. That's really kind of the lowest of the threshold that you need for severe weather. Usually you look for about 55 degree dew points or higher. Right now it's going to be in the upper 40s, low 50s, so it's real marginal moisture up here, and it's going to be kind of parched for severe weather. So one or two storms may become severe with some stronger winds. That's the concern with the southern side of this line here. But if you're up toward like Rockford, Illinois, Waukegan, Kenosha, Wisconsin, Elgin here, I-90 there from Rockford to Chicago, we're really not going to see anything too terribly strong. Maybe a rogue strong storm or two with some smaller hail, but mainly some heavy rain on up there across northeast Illinois, southeast Wisconsin. The southern side of this line here, farther south, those storms could be a little stronger as they push into eastern Illinois there. So from like Joliet down through Kankakee, I-57 there in Illinois, down toward the Bloomington, Normal region, Champaign, Urbana, Danville, those are the areas that we're concerned about maybe some isolated damaging wind gusts going through the day on Sunday. So this is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And then as we go into about 5 o'clock, you can see that line sweeps across portions of northwestern Indiana there through Gary, South Bend, approaching the Fort Wayne area. Again, the leading edge of this line could be producing some stronger winds as it propagates farther east. But again, this entire line probably will not have warnings on them. It's not going to be a derecho or anything like that. We don't have the ingredients for that, first off. But yeah, we could have some stronger winds at times. Maybe one or two rogue severe thunderstorm warnings. And that's again from the Danville, Illinois region all the way up toward like South Bend, Indiana. But as you go farther north, so like the Holland, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Kalamazoo areas there into western and southwestern lower Michigan, this is mainly just going to be a heavy rain setup for you. So I'm not really concerned about any severe weather in that area. We just don't have the moisture. We don't have the instability up across these areas for the severe weather. All right, so we just don't have it. So, and then those storms will continue to push off to the east through the dinner time frame tomorrow. Those will enter into, like, say, south central portions of Indiana. Again, maybe a rogue strong storm through mid-evening down here closer to the Indianapolis region, but those will be on a weakening trend. So if you live in Indianapolis, these storms, as they approach you by mid-evening, by 7, 8, 9 o'clock, will be weakening as they move into the north side of the city of Indianapolis. Same thing here in Detroit and Toledo. These storms will be weakening as they approach you. But still, like I said, Lansing here, Kalamazoo, Detroit, down here toward Toledo, we still could be seeing some heavier rainfall here. So there's still going to be some ponding on the roadways. We've had some snow in some of these areas recently and some frozen ground, so we still have to thaw that ground out a little bit. So some runoff from the rainfall, ponding of water on area roadways, creeks, streams will be rising a little bit, and even some low-lying areas we'll have to watch out for some flooding across those areas. So like some farmlands up there, stuff like that. All right. But let's look back to the west. We got a little bit of a snowfall setup here. So if you live in like Des Moines, Omaha, Lincoln, back here in toward the Kearney region, Grand Island, we have the threat for some snowfall and some mixed precipitation. So let's take a look at that while we're on the stream here. Let's get everybody's thoughts on this here. So this is 7 a.m. We're seeing some snowfall back here in the central, southwestern Iowa here. This is maybe an inch per hour. We could be seeing some decent snow rates here at times, but this will be, again, not that widespread, probably just, from Des Moines back to Omaha here. That's about it. That's at 7 a.m. So this is starting the Sunday morning commute. So if you have any church services there into central or western Iowa and then eventually eastern Iowa there, just be mindful of the snowfall moving through your area. We have winter weather advisories, and right now I'm going to click on Des Moines, Iowa, see what this is for here. It says plan on slushy and slippery road conditions. Total snow accumulations of 2 to 4 inches, though localized amounts of greater than 4 inches possible. And that's what I was talking about, is some of these snowfall rates could be over an inch per hour. So like 1 inch to maybe up to 1.5 inches per hour at most with the heaviest snowfall rates in this area. So that's going to lead to a quick 2 to 4 inches across some of these areas. And again, it's mainly going to be on the grassy surfaces. The sun angle's higher in March. It's warmer. The temperatures are more marginal in March here. And as I turn it over to the temperatures, you can just see how marginal the temperatures are that the snow is flying in. So the snow in those areas, it's going to be 32, 33 degrees from Cedar Rapids back toward Des Moines. So it's going to be a really heavy, wet snow. So we're talking about the 10-to-1 snow ratios, the 8-to-1, even the 6-to-1 snow ratios. So very poor snow ratios. It's going to be very slushy, sloppy type of snow. So if you have to go shovel this stuff out, just take it easy. Just take breaks, because it's going to be the wet stuff. It's going to be the wet, heavy snow. So that is going to continue across those areas. That's at 9 a.m. We're going to press a little bit farther in towards the afternoon. So noon time frame. Some of this could move into eastern Illinois, eastern Iowa, far northern Illinois, southwest Wisconsin. So from about we're seeing from about the Dickeyville region here into south Wisconsin, getting in towards, say, like Dubuque, over toward Fenimore, Madison, Wisconsin, farther south toward I-20 or Highway 20 here from Rockford to Dubuque. We could have some snow showers, maybe some brief bursts of some snow, quick dusting to a 1/2 inch here, but it will be weakening. We have some mixed precipitation farther south, so if you live in like I-88, I-80 down here in Illinois, it's probably going to be more of a rain-snow mix for you, or all rain, because those warmer temperatures will be impinging farther north on these areas. So Chicago with this on Sunday, it's going to be all rain. And again, this will turn more to a strong storm type of risk up here. All right. So that's what we're going to be currently seeing going through that Sunday time frame. Again, so we got the stronger storms there in eastern Illinois, north central Indiana, and then the snow farther north with some mixed precipitation in between. The heaviest snowfall will fall there from Cedar Rapids back through Des Moines, Omaha, and we're going to show you how much snow we can expect here real quick. Again, a good 2 to 4 inches is a good bet. We're not seeing anything too terribly significant across those areas. So let's move this all. Okay, so if you say like live in Des Moines, about 1 to 2 inches is a good bet. Maybe some isolated higher totals, some heavier totals back here towards like Omaha, maybe about 4 inches in those areas. Eastern portions there of say uh, Nebraska, so like Lincoln, back toward Grand Island, some 4, maybe 5 inch totals could be expected there. That's going in toward that time frame, and maybe some heavier totals. That's why we have winter storm warnings back here across portions of western Nebraska. That's where we could be seeing up to 8 inches of snow going through that time frame as well. So that is what we're expecting on Sunday. All right. All right, so let's look at briefly the area wide and what we're seeing. And again, let's talk about our friends out here in California because we got another big system on the way. So let's get into now talking about the long range forecast just a little bit. I mean, long range in air quotes. We're going to kind of just be looking through the first week in April, kind of all the way through April 7th to see what's down the pike. What are we watching? What are we waiting for? So looking out here in California in the Pacific Northwest, we're waiting and watching for more snow. We got a lot of weather headlines out here, mainly for snowfall. So we got the winter weather headlines out across Montana, Wyoming, getting into Idaho here, winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings. Those are the areas we expect to see the most significant upper elevation snow. So like the Billings, Montana region, Helena, Montana, Boise, Idaho back there, just to the east of Boise, and then down there just north and west of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Those are the areas at risk. Maybe even the Salt Lake City area will be getting in on some of the higher elevation snows through the end of this week, getting through the end of this weekend and towards next week. Then we have winter storm watches widespread across north central California, just outside Sacramento, including the Reno, Nevada region, getting down toward like Bakersfield, California here, Fresno. Those are the areas, especially in the higher elevations, the Sierra Nevadas. That's where we're going to be seeing some very heavy snow. And it does say 1 to 2 feet of snow is possible above 8,000 feet. So as you go up in elevation, it's going to get windier and it's also going to get snowier. A lot more heavy snow bursts, 1 to 2, even 3 inch snowfall rates per hour. So we're going to have 2 to 3 inches per hour of snowfall rates across these areas going through the Sierra Nevadas, especially above about 8,000 feet there going in towards early next week. So let's kind of zoom this out. Let's go to the GFS model real quick and see what we're seeing, see what we're looking at for next week. All right. And we'll kind of look at the entire country. So currently, this is what it looks like here. Let's go to the mid-level jet real quick just to show you where the troughs are and stuff like that. So this is right now. So let's go about to Monday afternoon. So this is Monday afternoon, and here is the whole picture. Let's kind of zoom it out and show you most of North America without zooming it out too much. And we're going to kind of show you the general weather pattern here. So we got a little bit of a polar jet to the north. That will stay up into southern portions of Canada. That's where the real cold air is. That'll stay up there. But we have more of a zonal Pacific flow here. So again, like I said earlier, what you see is what you get. To the north of this jet stream, you're going to see the cooler, below average temperatures. Right along and south of this jet stream, you're going to see the spring-like temperatures, or even at times like into Florida, summer-like temperatures. I know there's a lot of places in Florida into the 90s. That will continue going through the early week time frame. But you see this little curlicue out here towards like the south of the Aleutian Islands. That is occurring today. That's going to move all the way south and towards the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast, just off the coast Monday afternoon on the 27th there. And you can see this is going to be producing a little bit of a trough here with the low pressure system right in there. All right. And that's what we're seeing with kind of a bowling ball type of trough moving south. And this is going to be moving towards portions of California as we head in towards the early portion of next week. So this is our next big system to watch throughout that time frame. So let's fast forward it here through about 4 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. So this is just before sunrise on Tuesday. across the west coast, and you see how it really amplifies here. It really tightens up. We have a very big bowling ball trough with a low pressure system about like that. You have the counterclockwise flow around that low pressure system here, so that is the concern. But east of there, we still have the zonal flow. It's just Pacific air. We don't have a lot of that cold air really coming down from Canada because that polar jet is still farther up to the north, something like that. Okay, so that is what we're seeing. That'll stay up to the north. All right, but we have that big low pressure system across portions of the west coast, and that's going to be bringing in a lot of moisture there to California and a lot of wind too. So this is going to be a windy system as well. So not only will we see heavy snow, heavy rain, and more flooding, but we're also going to see some stronger winds. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. But then as we go in towards that Tuesday afternoon time frame here, we're in Tuesday evening, we're going to see the trough start to slowly open up a little bit as the low pressure system reaches the coast there, or near the coast of Northern California. Again, you can see that trough here, something like that. That's going to be pushing in across the west coast. Looks like more of about a positively tilted trough as it moves in towards Central California. And we're going to be advecting in a lot of this moisture across the Pacific Ocean in towards California. We're going to be seeing a lot of moisture here into the Sacramento Valley, much of the coastal California area. So from San Francisco down through Bakersfield, Los Angeles, even San Diego, we'll start to see more heavy rain, heavy snow in the higher elevations going into the Tuesday timeframe. So throughout the day on Tuesday, it's going to be wet, it's going to be windy across portions of California and much of the west coast. Even up here into like Oregon and Washington, it's still going to be windy across those areas, but much more so into California because the main trough will be pushing in there rather than up there toward, Washington or Oregon. And then as we go in towards the Wednesday time frame, that we're reloading the atmosphere now. So this is interesting. We're still talking about California, but I did want to make a note that you can see the big dip in the jet stream here. That trough is going to dig all the way south to California and probably even the Baja of California down here as well as we get into Wednesday. But you see ahead of the trough here, I'll draw the trough again. The low pressure system is about like that here, and we have the counterclockwise flow around that low pressure system. But you notice we have a lot of return flow out of the Gulf of Mexico, out ahead of the system. So we're going to be moistening up the low levels and the mid levels of the atmosphere across the southern and central plains, much of the mid and lower Mississippi Valley there on Wednesday. So we're going to be warming up across this area here going through the day on Wednesday. I know there's a big drought in some of these areas, so it isn't going to take a lot of sunshine, a lot of dry weather to warm us up because we're already seeing those extreme and exceptional drought conditions already persisting, and especially western Kansas. That will continue going through that Wednesday time frame. We're going to talk about Thursday here in just a moment, but you do see across California with that trough moving in, and I switch this over to the precipitation type here, you're going to start to see a lot more. And let me take off the winter storm headlines here real quick so you can see more of this. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, you can see you're going to see more rain and snow across these areas. So let me turn this off real quick, the winter headlines, so you can see more of this. Let's turn off that one, and that one. All right. All right, so now you can see more of the precipitation now than you did before with all the alerts. But yes, you see the mountain snow is going to be moving inland. This is on Wednesday, but let's go back to Tuesday now because we were talking about Tuesday. So this is Tuesday morning time frame. All right, so this is 7 a.m. on Tuesday. We're already seeing that big spiraling low pressure system back across portions of the west coast. The low is going to be sitting right in here. We got the counterclockwise flow around the low pressure system, and you see this atmospheric river pretty much of moisture moving up into central and northern California. That's going to be pushing all of that in towards the San Francisco area, Eureka, Reno, all the way up in toward Eugene, Portland, and even Salem, Oregon as well. And we're going to see a lot of snowfall in those higher elevations across northern California. That's why we have those winter storm watches and those winter weather headlines there into northern California, especially in those higher elevations. That's where we're going to see a lot of that snowfall. But where it is warmer, again, because we're going down in elevation, so like Sacramento, Stockton, San Jose, down into San Francisco, even up toward Eureka there along the coastline of Northwest California, those are areas that we're going to see more rainfall because the temperatures are going to be kind of a little bit warmer in this area here rather than up there across portions of the higher elevations. It's going to be snowing more. Okay, so we're going to see more flooding. We've already had saturated soils here, so a lot of these areas we're going to see some more flooding here going through that time frame into early next week. And we'll take a look at the hydrological outlook here in just a moment. What that means is we're going to look at the flooding risk across these areas. So going through the afternoon on Tuesday, much more of the precipitation and the associated atmospheric river will continue to push inland here. So the Sacramento Valley up here, even into portions of Northern California, even Western Nevada, so like the Reno area, we're going to be talking about more heavy snow, and you start to fill in the heavy snow there in toward the Sierra Nevadas as well. So we're going to see those 1 to 2 foot snowfall totals starting out there, getting in towards that Tuesday time frame and going all the way through Wednesday. By the time it's said and done, above 8,000 feet, we're talking 1 to 2 more feet of snow or more. So definitely going to be seeing that moving in on Tuesday. But again, you see the coastline areas. So down here toward Bakersfield, Salinas, San Jose, Stockton, San Francisco, Santa Rosa, Sacramento, all you guys down here, it'll be rainfall. And we still have the low at this point on Tuesday afternoon right off the coast here. It's still hanging out. Again, the counterclockwise flow around that low. And then you got all that moisture streaming up across portions of California Tuesday afternoon. We're going to fast forward to Wednesday afternoon now. The low pressure system is finally starting to move closer toward Western California here. And again, we still have the conveyor belt of moisture moving up here across the desert Southwest and in toward the Intermountain West. And we're going to start to see our big snows start to kick off here across Idaho, the Salt Lake City area, and then farther south through central Utah, eastern Nevada there, right outside Las Vegas into the higher elevations. That's where we're going to start to see more of the heavy snowfall. That's going to take place going in towards that Wednesday time frame on the 29th. Okay, and that will go through the Wednesday evening time frame. So this is 10 p.m. That'll push farther to the east. We start to get rid of the rain and snow across Northern California and even up here toward Oregon as well, getting through that time frame. So we start to get rid of that by Wednesday evening. Finally, we're still snowing though. So like the Sierra Nevadas in here, it's still snowing going into Wednesday evening, but we're lessening the snowfall rates. The main push of energy is going to be farther south. So the low is about right here. The counterclockwise rotation, again, with this low, and then you have all the moisture. So like Los Angeles, San Diego, Bakersfield, that's where we're going to start to see, even Las Vegas, we're going to start to see more rainfall opportunities going through that midweek time frame on Wednesday. Now we have to turn our attention farther east. So we have an interesting setup again. If you guys are interested with another potentially severe weather outbreak going into the end of next week, we have another big system coming in. This is the same system I was just talking about in California, but this time it's going to be moving into the middle of the country. So it's going to be another cross-country storm. And on Wednesday, we're going to start to moisten up the atmosphere and warm up ahead of the system. So like I said before, we have the return flow out here. So this is 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. Wherever you see these yellows, oranges, and reds, that's the temperatures that are warm. So those spring-like temperatures all across the southeast United States, the east, and really the eastern 2/3 of the country, with the exception of the Midwest there, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Northeast. But yeah, you see like Kansas, Oklahoma, North Texas, Missouri, getting through the Arklatex regions, the southeast, we're going to be warming up in a big way. Some 70s, 80s there on Wednesday afternoon. And then we go to about Thursday. This is Thursday about 4 o'clock. You start to see it warms up even more. And you can see the enhanced warm up where you see the drought conditions all across like western Kansas, the panhandle of Texas, eastern New Mexico, where the drought is extreme and exceptional. That's the areas that'll warm up the most. But we have a classic dry line setting up for that Thursday time frame. So let's turn over to the dew points here, and you can see this is a pretty decent dry line. It goes way far north with this setup, all the way into Nebraska and even South Dakota here, all the way down through West Texas. So this is a pretty extensive dry line. We got the warm front up here, and then the low pressure system will be up here somewhere across the northern United States. Again, we got the counterclockwise flow. We'll continue to watch it. But yes, that's where the dry line will be. So anywhere ahead of that, we're going to start to moisten up the atmosphere. We have the Gulf of Mexico. It's open for business again by the end of next week. And that warm front, again, is going to go probably even farther north than it did recently here. With the last system here, we got the warm front, then we got the dry line back here. That is the area we're watching going through that, say, Thursday time frame. The low pressure system should be sitting up somewhere in this area here. And so we got the setup there. That's the setup going into Thursday here. So we got the big dry line, we got the warm front, and the deep, warm, moist sector out ahead of that. So we got a lot of unstable energy moving in. So let's go even into Thursday evening now. This is 7 o'clock, and you can see the dry line becomes a lot more defined here into western and central Kansas, western Oklahoma toward the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. So what we see here is behind the dry line, we have a lot of stable, very dry air. So again, back to the front range, all across New Mexico, West Texas, from Amarillo down through Lubbock, Midland, Texas. Those are the areas that we see the drier air. But the Gulf of Mexico, like I said, is open for business. So we have that warm, moist sector moving all the way northward, this time probably to Omaha, even the Des Moines region, central Illinois. That will be feeling a little bit more humid than we have so far this spring and this season, farther to the north. That is Thursday evening. Then we turn over to the Cape. You guys know what this is. This is the convective available potential energy, and you can see right along and ahead of that dry line, we have ample instability. Again, it's not too terribly strong unless you get down here into Texas, and then we'll start talking about those 2,000, even 3,000 joules per kilogram instability values. So the higher the instability, the more the chance of thunderstorms and severe weather will be going into that time frame. But you see, the energy levels go way far to the north here, across Omaha, all the way down through Wichita here and into Texas, all across this region by Thursday evening. So now let's go over and look at what the Storm Prediction Center has posted for their day 6 risk on Thursday. All right, this is what they have posted. And for some reason, yesterday it was not showing it. So let's look here. Let's see, let me refresh it real quick. Yeah, it wasn't showing the day 6 yesterday, which was very confusing me. It was confusing me big time. So let's see. All right, well, it doesn't want to show it, but here, nonetheless, I will show you roughly what the area is here. I'm going to look at my laptop real quick just to make sure I don't get this wrong. So let me look up Storm Prediction Center, the Outlook. For some reason, it's not showing up on here, so give me one moment. All right, here we go. I'll circle it for you guys. Generally, in this area here, is the area at the risk for severe weather going through that Thursday time frame. Okay, so here, let me kind of drop it a little bit. There you go. So in this general area here that I'm circling is the area roughly in the risk for severe weather going in towards like that Thursday time frame. All right, so if you live in anywhere in that general area, that is the area at risk. So we're talking about you in Wichita, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, getting back there in towards the Dallas-Fort Worth area, even Abilene, getting down into Waco, Austin potentially, Wichita Falls. And I do note this is 6 days out, so this will likely change. It could become a little bit more widespread in coverage. It could shrink a little bit, or we could upgrade the probabilities. Right now, this is only in this area is only a slight risk, which is on their outlook, on 4 to 8 day outlook on the Storm Prediction Center's page, is a 15% shading. All right, so that's generally what that means. I promised you you'd have an active season. You will. It's been pretty active across the southern plains. We're not even into April yet, so just wait till April and May, Rain Maves. I think if you live in the Carolinas, I think that's what you said, then yeah, it'll be pretty active coming up. So wait till April or May. I think it'll get a lot more active for you. But that's the area we're really watching. And let's look at kind of the energy in the atmosphere. Let's look at the mid-level jet here going into that Thursday evening time frame. So we talked about the dew points, the temperatures, and the energy associated with that, otherwise known as CAPE, convective available potential energy. And then we have more of a kind of a trough kind of moving in like that. Not the most significant trough I've ever seen. Certainly right now, at least on the GFS model, it does not look as significant as what we just saw with this past system from yesterday, but we still have a chance for to see some stronger storms in here as this intersects that area. One note I want to make is that the latest guidance has actually trended a little slower with this storm. And a lot of these deeper systems, that tends to happen. So on Friday morning, this trough will finally start ejecting across the central and southern plains. And you see a big jump in some of the winds down here, right just along and post-frontal behind the dry line. That's that trough coming in. And right ahead of there, that's where we start to see the nasty weather with the severe weather and heavy rainfall. Then the trough really starts to deepen here. And again, it's very amplified. Again, we are not in a La Nina anymore. We're in ENSO neutral. So that means all of our jet streams are going to be really crazy. We're going to see a lot of amplification more into the spring months. So even April and May are going to be like this too. We're going to see a lot of amplified jets. We're going to have a very big ridge. So this is kind of what the jet stream looks like here. I'll zoom it out just a little more so you guys can see the whole United States. So the jet stream right now going into next week is something like this here, something like that. We have a little bit more of a ridge across the eastern United States. Here's all the warmer air into this area, and then the colder air is coming in from Canada on the back side of that trough, and the low will be like this, and then tracking up to the northeast from the base of that trough. That's what's happening. So that is what we're seeing currently going into the Friday time frame. So I do think, and then going back here towards the composite reflectivity on Friday, let's go back to about noon time frame, 10 a.m. noon time frame. We got kind of a, again, this is just one model. So again, it's 6 days out. So things will change more than likely. I do expect that. But just giving you a general consensus on this, there probably will be a cold front somewhere back in this area here. And then we got that warm front farther east. But we might have to talk about, again, unfortunately, more severe weather across some of these same areas. We've been seeing severe weather over and over and over again. So we're talking about you down there in Arkansas, lower Missouri Valley, perhaps southern Illinois now, southern Indiana, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, maybe even into northern Mississippi, northern Louisiana, and then again northeast and north Texas, like the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Texarkana, Little Rock, Memphis, Paducah, Kentucky, Fort Smith, Fayetteville, all those areas will probably be in play on Friday. So if I had to guess, again, I don't work for the Storm Prediction Center, but I do think that it is a decent bet for another outlook for Friday to be in something like this. There could be another like slight risk or something like that be issued, or at least a marginal risk going into that Friday time frame. But again, we're 7 days out from this event, so things will evolve, things will change. So it is a kind of a work in progress looking at this right now. All right, so let's see if anybody's got any questions. So that's kind of what we're seeing going into next week. And then, of course, if I go back to like the mid-level jet again, the 500 millibar winds, and you see the storm system. This is next week's storm system, right? So this is what we're talking about for Thursday, Friday. We got that big amplified trough here. Look at all these bright colors back just south of the Aleutian Islands. Yes, your eyes are not mistaking you. Your eyes are not mistaking you. You have another system pushing in, another trough with a low pressure system up here, and this will also be diving down across the southwest United States. So yes, the gravy train of systems is going to continue probably in through the first week of April. So yes, we are going to be in an active pattern going even into early April as well. And I do think this system that we're talking about, again, this is way in the future. This is, 10 days out or so, but the GFS has been hinting at this for a while, and we'll continue to watch it. The only thing we're going to talk about with this third system is we see it on the map here. It is a system that we're going to watch. It will be diving down here toward California somewhere and into the West Coast. That's about all we know for now, but I will say that this system does have the best chance of actually bringing down, so like once it moves into California, it looks something like this in toward the early week of April. That will be the system to actually probably bring down the coolest of air for the northern United States in a couple of weeks. So that will be a stronger system we'll be watching. And that means another big cool down probably for parts of the northern plains, the Pacific Northwest, and the upper Midwest, and of course, all the southern provinces of Canada. So we're talking about British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, parts of Western Ontario will be cooling down in a big way going in towards that, say, first week or so of April. And the Climate Prediction Center's forecast does say that. So if you guys click on Google and go to Climate Prediction Center, you type in Climate Prediction Center, they actually show that below normal probabilities for temperatures there across these areas, across much of the northern United States, getting into that first week in towards April. And we can kind of show you that here just a little bit. Again, we're tossing a grain of salt at you right now because it is a little far out. We're talking about almost 200 hours out in the future. So let's see here. Let's go to, here's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And again, this could be that third system we're talking about. Again, we'll do it potentially all over again into April. We got another low potentially developing. We got more return flow and much of the same. And then we got the cooler temperatures to the north here. That's really what we're seeing going into the first week in April. So if you think we're done with the active weather, you think we're done with the severe weather, well, think again. We're going to be doing this all over again at least a couple more times before the 7th of April. Okay, so get ready, strap in, buckle up, guys. It's going to be a wild ride going through the next couple of weeks. But I will be sure to keep you ahead of the storms on this channel. So if you have not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe below to the channel. Hit that like button, the thumbs up button on this live stream. And also, of course, most importantly, hit that notification bell so you get notified for future live streams, future videos. I have a daily weather forecast video coming out again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I will be doing that as well. So lots of great weather content. And recently, I've actually been doing educational videos. I put my first educational video out about a derecho just the other day. And that was that has a lot of great information about derechos, progressive derechos, serial derechos, hybrid derechos. And then I'll be putting another educational video out pretty soon about how thunderstorms form, how thunderstorms form, how hurricanes form, and a lot of stuff like that. So it'll be lots of fun. We'll be doing that more in the future on this channel. So we'll see. And as this channel gets bigger, I do want to tell you I'll maybe expanding some of my coverage to more of Canada, like northern Canada and even Europe as well. So as this channel grows, I'll expand more of my coverage a little bit more. But of course, we'll always be talking about the southern Canada, United States, and the tropics down here in the tropical weather season. So we'll be doing that more often on this channel. So do you guys have any weather related questions for me, whether it's in regards to Sunday or anytime next week that we're talking about the severe weather possible Thursday into Friday, or even that third system, anything weather related, whether it's even talking about early April, I can try to answer as many questions as I can here on the live stream while you guys have me here. Is Friday supposed to be worse than Thursday? That's a great question. That really is a great question. So let's go back here and let's look at what we call the mid-level jet on Friday. Actually, we'll start Thursday. So let's go back here to Thursday real quick. So Thursday is on the 30th of March. Okay, so here is Thursday. This is about 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. This is the GFS run, the GFS rendition here of the mid-level jet. So you see the trough down here across the desert Southwest. You got the low pressure system somewhere across the Rockies. That will be propagating and strengthening as it moves farther north and east. We have the stronger flow down here across the central and southern United States. But I do think probably on Friday right now, if it trends slower like it has the past couple of runs on here, it's going to be probably Friday. I think Friday looks like a stronger day for severe weather. And that would probably, again, be the Arklatex, the southern plains, the lower Missouri Valley, again, an area like that I just circled. So if you live in, say, southern Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, Oklahoma, northern Louisiana, western Tennessee, northwest Mississippi, north central Texas, just be on high alert on Friday. I know that's a lot of areas, but that is an area to watch going in towards Friday. And again, if this system continues to slow down, that is generally probably going to be the case. Again, with these deeper systems, they're going to slow down more. So we're gonna see probably more of a severe weather threat farther south again. So yeah, Friday right now, at least on the GFS model, it looks to be the stronger day for severe weather. Even though the Storm Prediction Center does not have out probabilities for that, I think they'll have to do some adjusting coming up. And again, it is a week out, so there is going to be adjusting with this system by the time we get through that time frame. All right, let's go here to the European guidance. Here's the 500 millibar winds for the, whoops, I did not want to do that. For the European, this is the European model. So we just looked at the GFS. This is the 12Z European guidance. So let's go towards Thursday time frame. See what this model shows. This is Thursday afternoon, and it shows a slower system as well. So both the GFS and the European model actually do agree that the trough is going to be sitting back into the desert Southwest and the Four Corners region, going in towards, say, Thursday. So it has slowed the system down. Before, it was actually more progressive. So there has been a trend slower with the system. I will say that. And then going in towards Friday evening. Yeah, so it looks like Friday is going to be the worst day as it looks right now. But of course, you always have to, again, just because you have the wind shear doesn't mean you're going to have severe weather. You still have to have the energy. You still have to have the CAPE, convective available potential energy, those lapse rates I was talking about with the cooler temperatures aloft. You have to have clouds, first of all, to produce thunderstorms. And if we don't have that, then you ain't going to see any storms. So, but yeah, Friday, this is what the trough will look like. Generally, that was bad. That was a bad drawing. There we go. That's what the trough would look like on Friday. Pretty amplified. Looks like a pretty amplified, pretty deep system. So we're going to have a lot of warm air and probably the deepest warm sector of the season so far that I see on the models that we've seen all year. So that what I'm saying with that is that the dew points will be much higher farther north. So like Kansas City, St. Louis, maybe Omaha to Des Moines, maybe some 60-degree dew points getting farther to the north there, potentially Thursday or Friday. So maybe a little bit more muggy, a little more humid for you guys up there as well. That is currently that's currently what we're watching for going into that time frame. Early April forecast, again, it looks very active, rain waves. We have several, again, the parade of storms will be moving across the country. More of the same. We're in early April, the first week in April, we're going to see more storms coming off the West Coast. Just like the GFS is showing, the European guidance is showing another storm. We got storm after storm after storm. We got the low here, and then we got another low up off the Aleutian Islands. That will also be diving down across California. So we got at least 2 or 3 more storms to go before we get through the first week in April. So again, that's why I said buckle up, guys, because it's going to get pretty bumpy through the next couple of weeks here. Marcus, will Thursday shift into Texarkana? Let me look here real quick. Let me go back to the GFS real quick before I can answer that. Again, it is a week out, so we are kind of still waiting and watching to see what happens here. But let's look at some of the ingredients for Thursday for you before I make that decision. So this is Thursday about 7 o'clock. The warm sector is there, but the dry line, again, is way back to the west here, and Texarkana is in this area there. So that is something to note. And then you have the dew points. We have to look at that as well. It is there. On Thursday evening, the dew points will be in the 60s in Texarkana, so it will be pretty warm and moist out here. And you got the dry line back here to the west. So yeah, it looks, again, like I said, a classic Great Plains, like central southern plains setup going into the end of next week. More severe weather, probably damaging winds, probably large hail, and some tornadoes as well. That's probably a given at this point, but where they occur is still the big unknown. So right now it looks like, again, on Thursday, at least right now, the Storm Prediction Center has an outline like this on Thursday for right now. So this is the area on Thursday that the Storm Prediction Center is watching out for. And generally in that area, so from Wichita down through Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and toward Fort Worth and Dallas, and even Wichita Falls. But like Texarkana on Thursday, it's outside of that. So with a slower system, Marcus, I think it's probably best on Friday. I think Friday will be a good bet. I think Thursday's going to stay put. I think Thursday's going to stay put where it's at. Maybe increased probabilities. It may expand a little bit farther east, depending on the progression of how fast the trough will eject. But I think on Thursday it's going to be farther west of Texarkana, and on Friday I think Texarkana you'll have to watch, because let's go to Friday here with the dew points. This is Friday late afternoon, and you can see there's the dry line. There's the Pacific front. Again, it's not truly a cold front. Again, it's called a cold front, but it's really just a Pacific front. We're not seeing much cold air back in here, again, unless you go up in elevation. But the front will be back in this area here, from central Iowa down through the Kansas City region and probably Dallas-Fort Worth. So yeah, there's Texarkana in here. Friday is a good bet. I think if you live in this area from St. Louis down to DFW on Friday, you're in fair game for maybe a marginal or slight risk for a severe storm. So that is what we're seeing on Friday. Sorry, weather on the go. You're good, Michelle. No worries. Weather on the go, I'm watching the Sunday threat in central Alabama. It's our season now for big long track tornadoes. What's your thoughts on it? I think Alabama right now for tomorrow is to be taken seriously. There is actually a threat of severe weather in Alabama tomorrow on Sunday, so watch out for some big hailers, some damaging winds, even a few tornadoes. Probably not like what we saw yesterday. We're not talking about any long track strong tornadoes, but maybe some of those weaker EF0 to EF2 type of storms. Tornadoes that could develop tomorrow. So, but we're certainly not talking about any EF4s or 5s or anything like that. Thankfully, hopefully we don't see any tornadoes tomorrow, but if we do, we'll be right here covering it live for you on Weather on the Go, this channel here. So that is what we're going to be doing. Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. Do you plan on talking about the whole month of April, like what could happen? Yes, April 1st, I will come out with my April forecast on April 1st. So April Fool's Day, April 1st of 2023, I will be putting out my April forecast, all right? So that will be out here within the next week or so. So April 1st is next Saturday, a week from today. So next Saturday, I'll be putting out my April weather forecast for you guys on YouTube, all right? That'll be my outlook for the month. Every first of the month, that's when I put out my forecast for the month. So that is what you can expect by then. All right. So just be looking out for that on Saturday next weekend. That is the time frame I'll be doing that. Thank you, Weather on the Go, for your wonderful weather reports. Saunders, thank you so much, Saunders. Thank you for joining. Much appreciated. You're very welcome. In Texas, it's saying on Tuesday and Wednesday some rain expected around Corpus Christi. Corpus Christi on, what did you say, Tuesday and Wednesday, huh? Let's see. I haven't looked too much down into that area yet, so let's take a look at that here. Let's go back to Tuesday. Yeah, that's with that stationary boundary down here. There's Corpus Christi down here. Yeah, that's with that boundary that's setting up on Sunday for the severe weather farther east. That's down toward Corpus Christi in Texas. That's right along that front. So you're going to see more heavy rainfall events down there. So like Houston, Corpus Christi, Brownville, San Antonio, Beaumont, all you guys, Lake Charles, New Orleans, Mobile, all you guys are going to be seeing a lot of that heavy rain even into early and middle portion of next week as well. So Kansas City should be ready for Friday. It's not a slam dunk. It's definitely not a slam dunk. We still have a lot of pieces to the puzzle to put together, but I will say, keep your ears and eyes ready for Friday. I think that, Friday could be a big day. One of the bigger days we've had so far this season across the plains. I think it is one of the more classic setups, at least at the surface by looking at it, on Friday and even Thursday as well. But again, by any means, it is not a slam dunk right now. So yeah, Kansas City, be on the lookout for it. Keep your eyes, your ears open for that on Friday for severe weather. But again, it's far from a slam dunk there. I'll keep you covered. We'll have another weather forecast video in the morning. I'll have another weather forecast video in the morning for sure. You're welcome. All right. Talk to you later, Scott. Thanks for joining. Much appreciated. You're welcome, Mega. You're welcome. Let's see. I'm scrolling up to see if there's any more questions. Since I'm impressed on your videos and how much they came to be true, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing it, Mega, on your website. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Again, you guys can always share my streams, share my videos on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you guys have social media wise. You can share my weather forecast videos on there anytime you want. So thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it. Again, if you are new here and have yet to subscribe to the channel. Again, we are quickly approaching 26,000 subscribers. My goal is to have 30,000 followers or subscribers by the end of April. So if you guys want to help out in that, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Again, I do a daily weather forecast video each and every morning at 9 a.m. on this channel. So thank you so much. Christy says I'm already over severe weather season. Yeah, I know it's already been very active. We know we started very early in the season, in like January, February, and it's been going since then. So on and off. I think there'll be a lull in the action a little bit across parts of the United States going into the middle of April, but again, that's far out. So I was just looking at some of the climate weather for like the climate forecasting systems model. Excuse me. That's basically what it's looking like now, but of course that could even change as well. So here again, there's the threat of severe weather tomorrow. Again, if you're just joining, we have a marginal risk in the dark green, a yellow in the yellow shade of color. That's a slight risk for severe weather, and then we have in the orange shade of color from Alexandria, Louisiana, towards Jackson, Mississippi, Vicksburg, Natchez, Hattiesburg, and then over here toward Montgomery, Alabama. That is a enhanced risk, a level 3 of 5 for severe weather. So that's a pretty decent threat for severe weather tomorrow across those areas. So if you're just joining me, we're covering the severe weather outbreak expected for Sunday tomorrow. That's what we're seeing. And again, one more time for everybody who has not joined, we haven't gone over this in a while, so let's go over it again. Again, the higher the number, the higher the chance of severe weather. Let's kind of get rid of a couple things here before we do that. All right. The higher the number that I'm putting on here, the higher the chance of severe weather, just basically saying that the probability is higher. So again, we have a little bit of a garden variety type thunderstorm set up there in the lower Missouri Valley heading into the day on Sunday. Another threat of some garden variety type storms, maybe some pea-sized hail, some very brief 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts farther north there toward Tennessee. Not that big of a deal. Farther south, though, we have a 1 out of 5 here. We have a 2 out of 5 there in the yellow, and then a 3 out of 5 in the orange. The higher the number, the higher the chance of severe weather. And that is what we're seeing there on Sunday. So again, from Jackson, Mississippi to Hattiesburg to Alexandria, Louisiana, and then east toward Montgomery, that's the area the highest at risk tomorrow. A level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather. Again, going over the hazards for tomorrow, we got the wind threat out there, the 5 to 15% shading in the brown and yellow shaded color, especially in the yellow. So from southern North Carolina through much of South Carolina, south central Georgia, southern Alabama, Mississippi, and then into south central portions of Louisiana. Those are the areas that we'll see maybe up to 60 mile per hour wind gusts going through the day on Sunday. Again, there are going to be multiple waves of storms as well. So we're not just talking about one and done with severe weather tomorrow. There's going to be a wave in the morning across Atlanta, and then that'll push across the Carolinas, and then we'll have our second wave, more significant wave of severe weather back to the west across like East Texas, far East Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and western Alabama. That will push through during the overnight hours and going in towards, say, like Sunday evening, Sunday overnight, so after midnight even. You're welcome. You're welcome, Navajo. Thank you for joining. You're welcome, Mega, as well. Seems like it'll be sunny. If you live in Florida, probably lots of sunshine. And like South Florida, like Miami up there toward Atlanta, Orlando. Miami to Orlando, it'll probably be sunnier, a lot of 90s down in Florida. You too. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening yourself as well. Thanks for joining. Much appreciated. Again, if you guys that are leaving and are leaving the stream, definitely don't forget to press that like button, the thumbs up, and down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and also hit the notification bell. Okay, so you don't miss out on any of my live streams, videos, anything like that in the future. All right. So thank you so much for joining. Have a good rest of your evening. Anybody who is leaving the live stream. So again, that's the threat of severe winds, like damaging winds tomorrow. So that's what we're seeing. The most significant threat tomorrow, and that's why that warranted the upgrade to an enhanced risk, is the large hail threat. This is across southern portions of Alabama, southern Mississippi, into central Louisiana. That's a 30% hatched risk of damaging hail that could be over 2 inches in diameter. So 2 inches or larger. So we're talking those golf ball, hen egg, tennis ball, even upwards to baseball size hail is definitely a possibility going in through the day on Sunday. That is what we're currently seeing across portions of the deep south here, the Gulf Coast states. So anywhere these you see these dashed lines down here, that means there's a threat for damaging hail that we'll continue to watch down here going in toward the day on Sunday. I'm not sure what you mean, Jamez. Okay, sorry, I was just reading the chat, guys. Yeah, looking at the tornado threat though tomorrow, it's still there. We do have a threat for tornadoes. Again, we have that 2 to 5% probability, so a 2% shading there in the green, and then the brown shaded color here from southern South Carolina through central and southern Georgia. Central and southern Alabama, just especially along and south of Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and then getting down toward like the Jackson, Mississippi, Vicksburg, Natchez, Hattiesburg region, and then back into central Louisiana, say like the Alexandria area and just near and north of Baton Rouge. Those are the areas at highest risk here of tornadoes for tomorrow in the brown shaded color. So we'll be watching you there all across the central Gulf Coast states and the southeast. Thank you so much, William Spann. Everybody, give William Spann a round of applause in the live chat. Hey, Jamez, can you not spam? Please don't spam the live chat, or I'll have to time you out of my live stream, or at least the chat. All right, please don't spam, guys. We want everybody to get their questions in and everything. We don't need people spamming the chat. All right, I appreciate it. Again, I'll get to, if you have any questions, Jamez, get to your comments soon. But if you keep spamming, I'll have to put you in timeout, all right? Just a fair warning. But again, give William Spann a round of applause. Thank you for your generous $10 donation. Much appreciated. I didn't mean to be mean, James. I was just saying it says your name on there quite a few times. You're spamming the live chat. So I was just being nice about it. I didn't time you out yet or anything. I just wanted to make sure you weren't spamming the live chat. We wanted everybody to get their questions and answers, or questions answered tonight. Jonathan, thanks for joining. Much appreciated. Good to see Tim Key here, and Kathy, thanks for joining from southern Mississippi. Hopefully you stayed safe yesterday, Kathy, from the severe weather. Again, if you're in southern Mississippi, Kathy, this is your threat for tornadoes tomorrow. So if you live in Vicksburg, Jackson, Meridian, Hattiesburg, Natchez, this is right along the I-55 corridor, I-59. And even I-20 here. Definitely want to be on the lookout for tornadoes and damaging hail tomorrow is the biggest threat there. That's why they have that upgrade to a enhanced risk. So if you live in again, Meridian, Jackson, Natchez, Vicksburg, and then on down here toward Hattiesburg, that's where we're talking about, or even like I said, Meridian. Those are the areas that we have to watch out for those 2-inch or larger type of hailstones going in towards, say, Sunday, especially Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, the peak daytime heating. That's what we're watching for going into Sunday. Brookhaven, Mississippi. Here, I don't know where Brookhaven is. Let me see. Brookhaven, Mississippi, just to kind of see what risk you're in here. I believe you're in that damaging hail risk. You are just, yeah, you're south of Jackson. Yes, you're right in the middle of that actually, Kathy. So you're between Jackson and like just west of Hattiesburg there. Yeah, you're in the middle of that significant hatched hail risk. So watch out for some damaging hail. If you have a car or anything like that, put it under an awning of some sort or in a garage tomorrow would be a good thing to do. So anything you do to stay safe from damaging hail, again, stay away from windows and stuff like that too, because some of the hail could be like tennis ball size, baseball size even. So some pretty damaging hail through the day tomorrow. There'll be multiple waves of storms too. You're welcome, Kathy. No problem. Thank you for joining. Again, if you have not subscribed, Kathy and everybody else, you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you press the subscribe button down below and also hit that like button. Slap that like button for me, guys. We're up to 145 likes. Let's try to get to 200 before the end of the stream. Much appreciated. This climate change stuff is going to it is changing a little bit. I'll say the our winters are getting a little bit warmer. I'll say that there is a lot of evidence of that, and even if you guys wonder about severe weather too, generally Tornado Alley basically is really just much of the plain states. So Tornado Alley generally is in kind of like this area here that I'm circling. Basically, that is kind of like what we call Tornado Alley, something like that. But in the past couple of years, it's kind of shifted farther east. So now it kind of is more like this now. So the Tornado Alley is kind of more in this general area. So that's kind of the area we're watching now, just with a lot of the changes going on with climate change and stuff like that, global warming, whatnot. The new tornado alley, so to speak, is farther east. Again, not to say we can't have tornadoes in the original tornado alley. It just over the past probably decade or so, and really over the past few years, a lot of the tornado events have been, you guys know, have been down in this area here in the Dixie Alley region, or even parts of the Ohio Valley and stuff like that as well. So it has moved farther east, and the reason for that is because when we've the last few years at least we've had a lot of drought out here across the Great Plains and stuff like that, and even the desert southwest here. And that actually kind of squelches the severe weather threat farther east into like the Great Plains and stuff like that. When you have a drought, it's hard to get severe weather because you need the moisture for severe weather, and you have a drought, you don't have much moisture in the ground that evects into the air. You don't have that, so. Thank you so much, Michelle. Well, I was hoping to get the word out. Again, it's really tough. You try to get the word out to as many people as possible, and unfortunately, you still have that, and that's why overnight tornadoes are much more dangerous, and that's why we say overnight tornadoes in general during the day at night doesn't matter. They're all dangerous. Whether it's an EF0 or EF5, all tornadoes are dangerous here, even damaging winds and large hail in itself as well. But that's why we always preach, that's why if you have a basement, storm shelter, take cover. Whether it's just a normal tornado warning and you don't think a tornado's happening, they still can happen. That's why they put tornado warnings out. We had a couple tornado emergencies last night, or even confirmed tornado warnings. So those are the events that we need people to actually take cover and heed the warnings, okay? But, a lot of people were sleeping last night. These tornadoes hit about 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, and unfortunately, it costed the lives of a couple dozen people, several people, and several communities, unfortunately, were devastated and by catastrophic damage yesterday. So, again, our hearts go out to them. Hopefully, they have a quick and speedy recovery moving forward, and hopefully they can rebuild and stuff like that. So definitely they need a lot of help down there. So if you have any way of donating to any charities or anything like that, or anything to help them out down there, would be much appreciated. I know there's a lot of organizations and stuff like that are helping out, like the American Red Cross, I'm sure, is helping, and a lot of stuff like that. So a lot of good things happening. But it is, again, when you have a big tornado like that, and big tornadoes plural, because I think there's probably more than one violent tornado last night in Mississippi. It does take a team effort to get the communities back on their toes and back to where they need to be. So our hearts go out to them for sure. Hearts go out to them. Yeah, it's 20. I think I saw 25 or 26. I think it was 26 last time I looked, Kathy. Very, very tragic, unfortunately. We did not want that to happen. You know, one life is too much. One life is too much. We want to keep that number at zero every time. Okay? Every single severe weather event, we want to keep that number at zero. That's where we want it to be, at zero. Thank you so much, William Spann. Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. Yeah, I can't begin to imagine the daily tornadoes these folks face every day. I would be terrified. It's not a thing to be scared about. I mean, a lot of people live in the deep south. I mean, a lot of these people down here are used to it. But what's so bad about this area, about the Dixie Alley region, is it's so forested. Where the Great Plains, it's a lot flatter. There's not as many forested areas. If you live in like Mississippi, and I'm sure Kathy could even chime in on this as well. There's a lot more trees down in this area, so it's hard for storm chasers to navigate those hills, the hilly terrain, the valleys, the trees down there. It's harder to get real-time data on whether a tornado is on the ground or not, and especially if it's at night as well. So that is why it's so much tougher to do. So. But I will be live tomorrow, most likely. We will be covering the severe weather threat again. We'll see if there's any updates with this. They could expand this enhanced risk farther east. They could downgrade it, upgrade it. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But yes, currently we have a marginal, slight, and then an enhanced risk. The highest risk of severe storms tomorrow is a level 3 of 5. That enhanced risk, that's across southern and southwestern Alabama, south central Mississippi, into eastern Louisiana. So that is the places. Those are the places that we're watching for throughout the day tomorrow. And I will be live on here. So if you will, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like this live stream by pressing the thumbs up. You guys can get my live stream late tomorrow afternoon and throughout the evening. We'll be doing evening and overnight coverage probably tomorrow night as well. So if you guys haven't watched my video yet, you guys can go check out my video. I do daily weather forecast videos, very detailed. If you guys like detailed weather breakdowns, this is the channel for you. Every morning for the most part at 9 a.m. So subscribe down below for that. Exactly, Jonathan. Right, exactly. Don't be scared. Don't get scared. Just be prepared. That's absolutely the mentality we need. All right. So, don't be scared about severe weather. Just be prepared. And again, the preparedness it will help save your life in severe weather and everybody else's. All right. That's why Severe Weather Preparedness Week is so important for a lot of these states out here. Through before spring happens and early spring, they have Severe Weather Preparedness Week, and it gets you ready for severe weather season. Know where to go. If you have a basement, storm shelter, if you don't have those, again, the most interior room away from windows, and also put as many as walls between you and the outside as possible, is definitely what we look for. All right. It's rare to get tornadoes there, and yeah, it is up in the Northeast. It's tougher because the Gulf of Mexico is very far away from the Northeast. But that's good news. You don't want tornadoes up there, so that's some good news, Michelle. You don't have a lot of tornadoes. Kathy says, yes, lots of big pine trees and oak trees. Yeah, that's the thing. It's very hilly, a lot of valleys down there. Very. It's not a good place to chase tornadoes for one, and for two, it's just, it's very, very tough. You have a lot of forested areas, very hilly, valleys are everywhere, so it is tough for sure. I think the Storm Prediction Center pulls by issuing slight risk on day 6, 7. Well, they already have a slight risk on day 6 already. That's on Thursday. That's from Wichita down to DFW, and even south of there. That's on Thursday. They already have a slight risk for Thursday on day 6. I had an earthquake while I was. What? You have an earthquake up there in New York State, huh? All right. Well, guys, if you guys have any questions for me, last questions for me here before I end the stream this evening. Again, we were live at 7:30. We've been going for 2 hours now. I appreciate everybody's support here on the channel. Again, keep on supporting us here. Subscribe, pass the word along to more people that this channel exists, and get more of these streams out and videos out here, and help me out on social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Definitely much appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter if you guys have not followed me yet. It's on the screen. Follow me on Twitter at hweather420, or it's in the description below. You can click on that and follow my Twitter page. I have a lot of updates on there pretty frequently, so I'll be doing a lot more on there as well. Like with retweeting storm pictures, storm reports, storm videos, just anything weather related will be on my Twitter page. So go follow that at hweather420. Again, hweather420. All right. Especially during these big events. And that also will be a platform where I kind of, warn you for when I go live as well before I go live. So I try to warn you, hours beforehand, so it's not last minute on there as well. That's what I try to do. All right. 7 years ago, there was an earthquake, huh? Well, there you go. Well, you can get earthquakes even in New York State, see? So there's got to be a fault line pretty close. I know there's a fault line down towards St. Louis, but it's not too terribly active. And maybe it's more active than you think. Some earthquakes you don't feel, they're so minor that you don't feel some earthquakes. So, all right, guys, anybody have any last questions for me here for the next minute or so? I'll be on here. Otherwise, again, be safe. Just like Jonathan said, don't be scared. Just be prepared for the storms. And again, we will be live tomorrow, late afternoon, evening for the most part on here. We will be tracking some more severe weather. So make sure to tune in back on here later tomorrow. All right. All right. Thanks, everybody. Where's my hometown? I live in Northern Illinois, west of Chicago. Kathy, yep, I live west of Chicago. We actually had 6 inches of snow just last night. So we had a lot of snow last night. Yep, we had a winter storm up here in northern Illinois, and that's the same one that's moving to the southeastern Canada. They had some snow in eastern Wisconsin, Michigan, lower Michigan, that is. So yeah, we've had a lot of snow here. It's funny because we haven't seen a lot of snow this year, and then all of a sudden we had 6 inches of snow, our biggest snow of the season here in northern Illinois, just west of Chicago, up like by Rockford, Illinois. We had our biggest snow of the season just last night, the end of March. Yeah, some earthquakes you can't feel, William, though. So I don't know. I'm not too familiar with that. I live in northern Illinois, so I don't have a lot of frequent earthquakes, or at least any that I feel. They're pretty minor if they are, so I don't really feel any shaking or anything with earthquakes. They don't happen too often up here. Absolutely, Jonathan. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm ready for spring, Jonathan. That's for sure. Well, again, thank you, Kathy. Stay tuned, Kathy, for tomorrow. We'll have more live stream for you. If we have any severe weather, we'll be here during the late afternoon and throughout the evening to keep you safe and ahead of the storms. All right. So again, be weather aware tomorrow. You are in an enhanced risk, Kathy. So damaging hail 2 inches or larger in diameter. We could have up to tennis ball or baseball size hail down there in southern Mississippi. Damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, and a few tornadoes will be possible. So stay safe. Yeah, I'm Kathy, I'm done with the snow this year. I hope anyway. Hopefully we get some more spring weather. It's been chilly up here lately. Very chilly up in northern Illinois. Thank you, William Spann, Michelle, Kathy, Jonathan, all you guys. Thank you so much, especially William Spann. Again, thank you so much for the $10 donation. Very generous $10 donation to the channel. Much appreciated. If you guys haven't yet, hit that like button, slap that like button on the way out, and also hit the subscribe button to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Notification bell to get notified for my future videos and live streams. I'll have another video out tomorrow at 9 a.m. and then I will be going live late tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening, and we'll be doing overnight severe weather coverage, most likely. All right. So thank you guys for joining this live stream, and I will see you all tomorrow with my video and possibly even my live stream. Thank you so much. See you guys later. Have a good night, everybody.